Moving to the next conference, let's go with the ACC.
Yep.
Obviously, for the longest time, or since kind of the college football playoff was announced and started, Clemson has been one of those four teams that could hang with the SEC and, the Ohio States and Michigans of the world. But it didn't feel like that last year, right? They had a down year, which I think they still won 10 games, which is kind of hard to say you win 10 games and you have a down year, but it's because they set expectations very high. So what do you see in this conference from either division? You can start wherever you like.
This is the Empire Strikes Back. We've seen the movie. Clemson had the 1-year abbreviation. They still got a talented quarterback, the Polynesian kid from California. He's going to play better second year. Trevor Lawrence was a generational program changer. A step back was to be expected. They started slow, had lost a couple conference games for the first time since Dabo's second or third year.
Yep.
Clemson's a class of the league. Clemson's going to win the league. Not a lot of excitement. Very, very straightforward. Best team, best players, best coach. Clemson's your ACC champ.
So it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Now, there are going to be some challenges, though, will there not? I mean, the teams that I'm curious to see from the Atlantic division are teams like NC State, maybe, and Pittsburgh. So those are two teams that, well, I don't think they're necessarily going to beat Clemson, or they're as classy as Clemson with all the players, et cetera. But, the Wolfpack is a very underrated football team that nobody paid attention to last year.
Yeah, NC State's a good program, a good coach. Dockett's won a lot of football games, been in a couple different spots. They're definitely the trendy ACC pick right now.
Yep.
If you're looking for people who are going to make a surprise pick, say, oh, who's your surprise Final Four team? You'll see a lot of smart people saying North Carolina State.
Yep.
I don't think they have the talents up front to match up with Clemson,
Yep.
but I could definitely see them being a second or third place team in that Atlantic division.
Sure.
Good. The team I really liked preseason was Wake Forest.
Okay.
With Doran.
Yep.
Great team, did a lot. Unfortunately, their quarterback has a medical issue, which it seems like he's going to be out for an extended period, if not the entirety of the season. And
Right. And that just got announced like this week, right?
Yeah. Recently, they said it was going to be about the first 6 weeks, and now they went ahead and said it looks like it might be the entire season.
Right.
So you feel awful for the kid. Did everything right, stayed in the program, came to Wake Forest before they were really winning consistently. You hate to see them miss that. Pitt returns 8 guys on offense, defending ACC champs. A lot to like there, Travis, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to like there. And now we stole their best receiver, but they're still a good football team, even with him gone.
You start looking at their offense. Yeah. Okay, Cowing's now suiting up for your USC Trojans.
Yeah.
And Kenny Pickett went across the locker room, was playing for the Steelers.
Right.
Those are 2 big guys.
Those
I don't
are
think
big guys.
Loads.
No, I'm kind of with you. I've heard some defense that Pitt can still be very competitive, and I think they might be, but I'm with you. Losing Jordan Addison and Kenny Pickett, and frankly, watching some preseason NFL football, Pickett's looked fantastic as a rookie quarterback in a preseason game can, right? But he's certainly shown he belongs there, right?
Anytime you surpass Dan Marino's records at Pitt, you're doing something pretty good. He's a pretty good player, and they're going to miss him. Just don't reload with those guys.
That's right. That's exactly right. As we go further down the Atlantic, I see teams. I've been hearing a little bit about Florida State as well this year. Florida State has been very interesting to me because they've almost had a decline like we've had at USC, where perennial powerhouse, especially in the 90s, early 2000s, always there, always having Heisman candidates, but they've had their teeth kicked in the last few seasons. And some people are saying this is the year that things are going to change. They've got 16 returning starters. But I got to be honest, looking at that schedule, they've got to face LSU, Florida, Miami, Clemson, and NC State. Even if you were a fabulous football team, it's likely you could drop 1 or 2 or more of those games. So I don't know how they get through that schedule. They're probably an afterthought, right? If we're being realistic here.
Lots of red flags with the Florida State program. Clearly, you can relate to this. I mean, they haven't found the right guy to take over since Jimbo left.
Yep.
I think they were a little quick with the trigger on Willie T. I think he deserved a little bit more time.
Yep.
They go out and hire Mike Norvell away from Memphis.
Yep.
I always get hesitant when you hire a guy to a lower level program such as Memphis,
right,
when that guy didn't build that program.
Right.
That was Fuente's program. He just kept it going for 3 years.
A lot like the Ryan Day situation, right? Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Here's the keys to a blue blood program. There's also something going on with recruiting. I mean,
Yeah.
they lost their 5-star defensive back on signing day to Jackson State, and Dion
Prime time came in and stole him.
Yeah, I mean, Dion's charismatic. Dion's charming.
Yes,
Dion's not going to Tuscaloosa and taking Nick Saban's best guy.
He's
not going to Athens and taking Kirby's best guy.
It's true.
But he was able to go to Tallahassee and take your best kid. That's not a great sign.
No, it's not. And while Dion is a charismatic, obviously he had an amazing career and there's a lot he could do for these young men, but he hasn't been a head coach all that long, and he's not coaching at even a mid-tier school. This is a smaller school that he's trying to make something happen, which I respect him for. But to your point, a guy that was looking at Florida State 15, 20 years ago, it didn't matter if God himself was coaching at Jacksonville State. He wouldn't even have taken the call. And now all of a sudden he flipped on signing day. So I hear you there. There's one more team that I want to talk about in the ACC. Not that I love this conference for any reason, but I've been hearing a lot about Miami. And so Miami's interesting because there are parallels again with my alma mater because they're private schools. They've had a good football tradition. But again, a program that's been in disarray, just like us, just like Florida State, and kind of feels like, okay, they've hired Cristobal. They've got a returning quarterback in Van Dyke. What else do they have? They've got, they draw Clemson. So, okay, having to play across there along with Florida State. What do you make of the Hurricanes this year?
So Mario Cristobal is an excellent program builder. He's the guy you want building your program Monday through Friday. He's going to get good student athletes in. They're going to be fast. They're going to play hard. They're going to run around for him. The issue with Mario Cristobal is that eventually you play games on Saturday. And on Saturday, he's a liability. I can't tell you how many Oregon games victories he snatched away and ended up defeats. Clock management's abysmal. Play calling, he tenses up and takes over for his coordinators when he shouldn't. Mm-hmm. They just make a lot of mistakes, or he has. I don't want to say they will continue this.
Right.
He lost a lot of games for Oregon that were W's. I mean, even, kneel out situations. We just had to kneel the ball and you win the game. He runs a dive off tackle, kid fumbles, Stanford beats him. Got Auburn. That Auburn game's giving me nightmares.
Yep.
They had Auburn beat. Clock man got him beat. So he's going to have a hard time. Now he's going to get athletes, and ultimately it's more about the athletes and the Jimmies and the Joes than the X's and the O's. But I think for him to be successful at the levels Miami anticipates, he's going to have to get some really good coordinators, and he's going to have to let them coach. And it's, we always made fun of Brady Hoke for this, but Mario doesn't need to be wearing a headset on Saturday.
Right.
Nothing good can come from that.
Right.
Just recruit,
be the CEO, program. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Be a leader, but you don't need to get go hire talented coordinators to do what they do best, and you manage it all.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember reading an article about, John Kazana, great reporter out of Portland, and he was covering the Oregon Ducks, and he was doing this big in-depth with what makes Mario work and things like this. And, it's the classic football guy books, The Art of War by Sun Tzu, a couple Patton books, MacArthur, things like that.
Yep.
Not one book on clock management. If Sun Tzu said less about moving your troops through the mud in the 4th century and a little bit more about clock management, Mario might have a couple more Rose Bowls.
Yeah, he might have a ring.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So I do wish him well. I've known some younger guys I've worked with that actually played for Mario and said he was a fabulous person and coach. So, I try to root for good guys in the sport. But that said, I do think he has a tough task. And I think expectations, just like they are at USC, even when we're not good, are probably higher than they should be. And Miami, I feel, is the same way. So now getting all this hype, there's going to be a lot around that program. If he doesn't live up to it, what does he do in his follow-up year?
I mean, it's a good spot. I mean, who else in that Coastal Division is going to be able to compete with him athlete-wise?
Nobody.
I
mean, it used to be Virginia Tech, right? When you had Beamer back there, they'd get some talent, play great special teams, and beat you. But that's not the case anymore. North Carolina's one that's interesting, right? Like they played last week. We got to see them. But, Mac Brown's first year, North Carolina, again, lost some guys. Are they going to compete? And even if they did win the Coastal, you still got to go face Clemson, which I don't think any –
You get the ACC championship, you got to play Clemson. There's a reason getting playoff spurts are hard. I mean, so be it. But you got to beat somebody. But Mac Brown, UNC, not scaring me. I mean, Bronco, good coach, but UVA is not going to have the athletes compete year in after year out.
Yep.
Georgia Tech's a dumpster fire.
Mm-hmm.
Duke's waiting for basketball season. I mean, it's Miami's league. That's
Yeah.
the way they designed the conferences. They want Miami and Clemson playing every year in Atlanta or Jacksonville or Charlotte
Right.
for the playoff spot. And that's the way the ACC designed it. And I think that's what you're gonna get this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it'd be nice to see maybe Miami overperform and give Clemson a game and make the conference competitive. But I think your first statement, I think it's Clemson's conference. We didn't have to spend 10 minutes talking about it. It's already kind of done, but